My name is Boyd Sharp. I'm 39 years old. I'm an IT guy. Work in an office all day, and I am in the biggest rut. I need a reason to get out of bed in the morning, and I don't have it.
Yeah.
Boyd has no background in mixed martial arts, but somehow he came up with the idea of, hey, I want to try this.
Here we go. Some hard here, let's go! Yeah.
I've never been in a fight in my entire life, but in 1 year, I'm going to get in a mixed martial arts cage and fight a professional fight.
You better get up and fight.
When I told people that I was going to do this, they said, A, you're nuts, and B, can I come too?
Better get up and fight.
And I'm just trying to show that ordinary people, when they put their minds to it, can do extraordinary things.
Knowing virtually nothing about mixed martial arts and then stepping into a cage for a professional fight seems like a crazy idea. Enduring the year of training to even get a fight is perhaps even crazier. This is a daily reality that faces the 10 Cubes who hope to step into the cage in 2 months. They've trained for 10 months at Titan's Gym in Halifax under Peter Martell,
Go, guys, find somebody.
who now feels it's time to hit the road for a pilgrimage to his second home.
Going to New York so that we can give the guys a different look at some other people who train hard, give those guys a little bit of a, a little bit of an adventure and kind of, hammer home that, hey, we're doing something big, this is real, we gotta prepare for a fight.
The team is headed to Manhattan to train at the legendary Renzo Gracie Academy. Peter is a self-taught black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu who obtained all of his belts there. And Titan's Gym is an official Gracie school.
All of a sudden, bang, we're going to New York City. We are going to the Renzo Gracie's gym. A Gracie. Everybody knows the name Gracie. I'm losing my mind. Are you kidding me?
Peter is taking 6 of the Cubes and 3 of his pro fighters on the 15-hour drive from Halifax to New York.
Renzo's club is probably widely known as one of the toughest and one of the best jiu-jitsu clubs in North America, if not the world. He produces champion after champion after champion. And he's our mentor, he's our instructor. He's the guy we go to get our belts. And we're gonna bring these guys on down and immerse themselves in that culture. It's just a great experience, and hopefully it's just gonna turn a page for them and open their eyes to a whole new way.
Boyd Sharp is currently the only Cube who has a pro fight lined up. He's scheduled to fight Robin Black, an MMA fighter with 7 years experience and 9 pro fights to his credit. Peter knows the odds are stacked against Boyd, but he's hoping the trip to the Gracie Academy will boost his confidence.
Your goal is to get an MMA fight, you're getting one, just a tough one. Lucky you, Boyd.
I know a little bit about him. I know he's got a losing record. And I'm like, he wants to come in, beat the shit out of me, get his record back to 500, and go off and probably retire.
There's a lot of reasons to take this fight, and ultimately, I don't mean to be rude. I mean, it's no reflection on this guy. I think it's great that he wants this challenge, but this will be an easy fight. It's going to be hard enough for him to fight an experienced guy. But if he's got to fight an experienced guy and he's tentative or nervous or angry or upset, it's just going to throw him. The biggest thing in your first fight is the fact that you don't understand the amount of pressure it is. So I think if I'm going to fight this guy, I'm going to also get into his head. So he's going to be interested in reading blogs and any coverage on this fight. So I think I'll write a couple blogs about just how bad this could be for him.
He is being a complete bully about this, and I was bullied as a kid constantly, and for him to want to come in and pick on somebody who really doesn't know what he's doing, it made me want to take the fight like even more.
He certainly has enough time to think about his fight as they have to drive through the night to get to Manhattan.
The ride down was hell. The ride down sucked. We drove it straight. We drove 15 hours straight down there. I slept, maybe a couple hours. We arrived in New York at 7 o'clock in the morning. Everyone was exhausted, delirious, wiped out. It was a mess.
Former professional wrestler Rick Doyle is used to long drives from his days on the indie pro wrestling circuit. And like Boyd, the odds of him actually surviving to this point in the program were slim.
I never thought in my life I'd get the opportunity to go to New York City. And suddenly through this program and the journey it's taken me on, I get to go to New York City to visit the famous Renzo Gracie Academy. That doesn't happen to people. I don't know anybody that has happened to.
This is the first social event Rick has been a part of with the other Cubes since the program began 10 months ago.
I don't really get involved in a lot of the social aspects that the Cubes do. They go out and they do their little thing and their activities together. I'm not into the hugging and the bonding. That's not my thing. But I'll tell you, I have tremendous respect for everybody that's in this program.
The support that we all felt from having a team and going through this together, he felt like he didn't need it. Until things got really tough. And I think a number of times this year, Rick's kind of fallen apart. And whether it was Steve Goodfellow, whether it was me, whether it was Peter, there's always been somebody there to kind of bring him back from the edge. And I think he slowly started to realize the value of a team. And then when we said we were going to New York, he was on board immediately.
I feel rejuvenated right now, and I have a completely different outlook on life right now. I have a very positive outlook right now on my life, and it's been a long time since I could say I've had that. For me, Rick Doyle, to be here at the end of this journey is an honor, and I'm proud to be here right now. I'm f***ing proud, man. This is going to be one of the highlights of my life. It really is.
The Cubes are stepping up their training with 8 weeks to go until fight night. But as of now, Boyd is the only one with an opponent. He and the others are in New York City to train at the famous Renzo Gracie Academy.
This is where the absolute pinnacles of the sport, the pioneers of the sport, and the greatest of the great, leave their homes and come here so that they can become world leaders in the sport. And here we are, from Halifax, Nova Scotia, jumping in a car, and now we get to train, roll in their sweat and do the same thing that they're doing. It's crazy. It just blows my friggin' mind. I can't believe it.
Not everybody gets a chance to do this. I don't take this lightly, not at all.
Oh my God, is that John Danaher?
I don't know who that would be. There's UFC guys walking around, and Boyd's like a kid in a candy store. I know that guy, And it was just amazing to go into that environment.
It's like the Mecca. There's so much skill and knowledge that we're hoping it just rubs off them, opens them up, gives them an awareness that sometimes it's hard to tell them about it. They just have to kind of discover it for themselves, and I think this helps them discover that.
I felt like I was walking into a church. It was like sacred ground, and it didn't matter if this guy was a black belt and you were a white belt. It didn't matter. You were all treated with the same amount of respect.
I am very fortunate to be training with the best people in the world. I've trained in a number of places in different countries, and the professionalism here has been fantastic. So I'll give you my very best. I promise you that, and then hopefully we'll all get something out of it. Good. Now the next thing to look at is. That's it. Well done, Boyd. That's it. That's great. Now, you didn't quite get it, right? You didn't quite hit his foot, but it doesn't matter. He went down. And that's life. That's real life. Makes sense?
Totally. We got to learn some amazing skills. We got to see something way outside the scope of what we've been seeing here in Halifax. And we got to see
where Peter comes from with his training and with his jiu-jitsu it was really fascinating.
I put my body weight forward. Now look, head up, I have the wrist.
I had these visions of walking into this dungeon and trained killer monsters waiting for us to come in to tear us to pieces to show us that, you know, we don't know anything. And I couldn't have been more wrong.
Look, and I finish.
To have personal one-on-one lessons, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more than that. I mean, these were elite level fighters.
Sometimes I can go over here, look, boom, one shot.
And they were all very calm and all seemed very centered. None of them seemed, you know, very aggressive or, you know, put off by our presence. They were very warm, they were very accepting. I'm really glad I went.
Only 6 out of the 10 cubes were able to make the trip. Steve Goodfellow wasn't able to travel because of work commitments. Rick was a little bummed about it because he and Goodfellow have become best friends over the past few months.
I was in the change room and I was just talking to Boyd and Peter and I said, you know, I'm really bummed out Steve couldn't be here because really Steve has been the most dedicated cube of the entire program. He legitimately loves every aspect of the sport. And I was really bummed out he wasn't down there. And I knew he was bummed out, but he was just swamped with work and he couldn't go.
Hey Rick, the guy in the office says this just arrived for you. What? This is cardboard box. Anybody got a knife?
I don't get it.
Serious? Yeah? So the guy said, he said, you got a Rick Doyle? I said, yeah. He said, this just arrived for him.
Hey Rick, I know you're really nervous and scared down in the big city and Master Gracie intimidates you greatly. I want you to know that you can take me with you everywhere so you'll feel confident knowing the calculator is right there, looking over your shoulder, having your back, ready to bail you out of trouble as always. You're welcome, Steve. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And he put a few inches on there as well, because he's actually shorter than me.
Ideally wanted it right in front of the whole gym, which I'm not sure if that's how it happened, to have it announced to Rick that I was there to support him, because I know he's nervous and scared, and he likes to have my back, and that usually I'm the one that saves his ass.
That's hilarious. You know what the worst of it is? He probably has those all over his house. He probably does. He didn't get that made up. He probably has them. That's fantastic. That just made my day. All right, come on, Steve. He's got about as much personality, too, as the real McCoy. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Grab him, grab him.
Less than a year ago, these cubes were all tucked safely in their everyday comfort zone, physically and mentally miles away from any notion of a cage fight. 10 months later, they're exceptionally fit, skilled, training at a world-class facility, and rooted in the notion that they will fight professionally very soon. This kind of transformation is having a profound effect on how they now see themselves.
When I started this, I had a lot of things going on in my life that I wanted to work out, and a lot of maybe demons, or I just needed to be alone and work on this. And I came further than I ever expected I would. I got through this further. I overcame a lot of things.
Really?
Yeah, I did, man. So to make it to this point, I'm proud I made it this far. So I'm kind of celebrating a little bit now.
Yeah, I can tell.
But my whole perspective on fighting has changed, on the sport has changed, and I think I've changed as well. I mean, this has been nothing but positive for me. So I would encourage anybody that wants to make a change in their life or better themselves to take a serious look at this training. Maybe not to go to the extreme that we are, to get into the cage and do combat, but the actual training is nothing but beneficial. I think there comes a point in people's lives, and maybe it's a point for us, where you stop learning. There's, you know, we settle into our lives, we you know, get married and have kids and careers, and you really don't, you get to a point where you go to work every day, but you don't really learn anything new. And this is a whole world of unlimited learning. You can learn as much as you can absorb into your brain that it's out there to learn. So I think that challenge can consume you, and it just changes your whole personality because you want to grow, you want to learn more. And suddenly life becomes much more interesting.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Rick, that I think it's this idea of getting set into a pattern in your daily life of just repetition, wake up, do what you're doing, you know, go to sleep. And I think that whole idea of, well, I've learned everything I need to learn to make it by, and I think that really brings us down. And when we're open to the idea that we have so much to learn and we actually do start going down that path of learning, man, what a great experience. You feel like a kid again, you know?
Yeah, I had the sensation several times this year because I was snapped so out of the world that I was accustomed to that I felt like almost every day I have an opportunity to reinvent myself because I'm so different mentally right now and well, physically as well right now. It's like I'm not trapped in the person that I used to be. It's like there's so many different directions I can go now, and I realize that. And I spent probably 10 or 15 years getting up, going to work, doing my thing, building my family, and now I realize, you know what? There's a lot of possibilities out there for you if you're willing to take on the challenge and make the change.
Are you kidding? You haven't changed? You're not scared anymore. That has to be different for you. Yeah. If you were scared or intimidated before, and now you're not, wow. I think you've gone through the biggest change of anybody here. When you look at where you are now versus a year, it's amazing. Boyd, you're the toughest guy here, and I'm not even joking. To see, when I think about how many times I saw you lying on the mat, squirming in pain, but you kept getting up, and that's why I text you at 3 o'clock in the morning. Just quit, Boyd. Just quit. Like, please, I don't want to see this anymore. The changes Boyd has gone through are amazing. Like, I worry about him, I really do. I mean, he's dropped a lot of weight. He's actually got veins now. But you notice his hair, in like a few months period of time, he's gone from black hair, he's almost gray now. Like, think about how much stress his body must be under. It's funny, but he is a tremendous warrior. Win, lose, or draw, he's won. He's got the heart of a lion. He's a tough man.
I was terrified of fighting. As a kid, I was picked on constantly. I was the smallest kid in my class. I was bullied by God only knows how many people. The thought of fighting back never, ever entered my mind. I was terrified of the idea of getting into a fight, even when we started this program. Hell, it's probably why I came up with the idea. Now is completely different. If Peter walked in and said, Boyd, there's a guy out there in the parking lot, you have to go kick his ass now, great. So in some ways, this journey has already gotten me where I need to go.
The Cubes are finishing up 3 days of extensive sessions at the Renzo Gracie Academy in New York.
Stiff arm, cup your thigh, knee goes down low. So I go look at this, right here.
Boyd Sharp has a fight coming up that's nearly impossible to win, but this trip is a confidence booster.
The level here is just so high that my game has jumped enormously. And this is amazing. Like, this was a 1-year journey. There are guys that train jiu-jitsu for years and years and put in thousands and thousands of hours and never ever get to come to somewhere like Renzo's and be welcomed in.
He still has apprehension about his inexperience, but he has trained physically as hard as he possibly could over the past year.
The hardest thing is the first 3 months. You know, after 3 months, because it's hard. It is a little bit of a tough sport, but so you have to be strong-minded to stay focused and then insist on doing it. You know, but after you break the 3 months mark, you go. You know, and then like 1 year, you will change your life for sure.
I have a fight coming up.
Oh, do you?
I do, in March 9th. The guy has 9 fights.
9 fights?
I have none.
That's all right.
And he's a blue belt.
Okay.
So I've been working with Peter as hard as I possibly can, but
yeah.
What would you suggest? I have 2 more months. What would you suggest I really focus on?
The hardest thing is because he has much more experience than you. It's just like you gotta stay calm, you know, because it happened to me on my first fight. My MMA debut, I was against a guy who was like 12 fights, and then like I was better than him in all aspects, but I went too crazy on the first round that I gassed myself out, and then and I was just dragging for the other 2 rounds. I would stay calm, and just got trained as hard.
Right.
If you train hard, the fight is easy.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the work. Thank you so much.
This simple advice is comforting for Boyd, coming from such a qualified source. And the morale of the group is very high, despite a journey that has so often tested their resolve. Back home in Halifax, Boyd's self-confidence has shifted, and a new level of focus has emerged.
Robin is bigger than me, he's stronger than me, he's more experienced than me, he's got a lot more training than me. So if I go in there and I take the only thing that I can have above him, which is conditioning and poise, if I throw those 2 things away, I'm screwed. So I need to make sure that I have access to every single attribute that Peter's given me.
He's fighting a guy who will likely beat him up badly, and Boyd has a young family to support. Confident or not, fighting a one-on-one cage fight against someone with more skill and experience is a risk that is too big to ignore.
Just putting him through standard shark bait. Seeing if we can break. Boyd, come on. You're not gonna step in with your hands down. Come on. When you kick, reach out with your arm. Let's go.
Peter recognizes the danger and is constantly shark baiting Boyd. This training technique matches Boyd with fresh fighters every 3 minutes. He is given no time to rest.
Come on, boys, let's go. That's it, come on, let's go. Get up, get up, get up. Go get a drink.
You're f***ing pissing me off so much you're not fighting. You have to buy us a new wall, Boyd. It's a new gym.
The confidence he built in New York has now been blurred by Peter's barrage of shark baiting. But like Igor Gracie told him, train hard, fight easy. It's Boyd's only hope to survive his fight that's now less than 6 weeks away. Next time on Cubicle to the Cage, Peter is busy trying to find opponents for the cubes. And just when they think they have their matchup set, failed medicals change everyone's fate.
How dare they try to take something away that I earned? It's a frustrating finale after a year.
Yeah. Now here we go. Yeah. Come on. All right, now here we go. Yo, like a doormat, laying flat out from the weight of the days. They all seem the same. Are you slipping past the limit of all you can take? Unsteady the everyday. Are you ready to break? You better get up and fight. You better get up and fight. Yeah. You better get up and fight. Better get up and fight. So you've been beat up, knocked down, and kicked